one of the most interesting things that happened in the last few years are the tax forums at the IRS. Has 6 different forums a year, and I know you've had programs about it here on TaxWise TV. And at these forums, they have the case resolution room. So you can bring your cases, and you can bring cases that have just started. In other words, your client has just received the letter to try to resolve those cases. And the IRS just reported this last year that they've had a 91% resolution track record in these case resolution rooms. Mm-hmm. So this year we attended the Las Vegas Tax Forum, and if I'm right, there are 8,000 people just at that one alone. 8,000 practitioners, wow. and they're really terrific forums for a lot of reasons. You know, not just the conference level and the CPE, but this case resolution room is something I would recommend anybody taking a look at any of these 6 venues, you know, whether it's Orlando or San Antonio, which we've also been to, or Las Vegas, to take advantage of all that they have to offer, including the case resolution room.
The whistleblower law. Some new things happening there. Tell us about that and bring us up to speed.
The whistleblower law has changed significantly. It is, I think it's been enacted in December of 2006. So it's just about to happen. And what it's done is it's created a 15% minimum payment and a maximum 30% payment to the whistleblower. And the whistleblower can be reporting companies where there's a $2 million deficiency when it's finally determined, or an individual taxpayer with a $200,000 deficiency. So there's significant cases. People could report things under that, but they're only liable, the IRS, to pay a reward if it meets those minimums. But they're required to pay a reward. And the new part of the law, which is significant, is the person, the whistleblower that turns anyone in, can sue the IRS to say, yes, you owe me an award. And the breadth of the things that they can turn people in for is extensive. Mm-hmm. If there's some some lawsuit between companies, and so they do depositions and interrogatories and their own document request, and then it's revealed that it looks like somebody's unreported their income. Well, you could see that. You know, you could be a regulator, you could be a judge, you could be somebody on the jury and go, well, I think I'll turn this in. Because if it's public information, they only pay a 10% reward. But it opens up everything from unhappy employees to ex-spouses that believe there's unreported income can turn someone in, so to speak, to the IRS. And the IRS has found this is, from their perspective, much more effective than just auditing in general to find out what the underreporting might be.
Yeah, it's really interesting to get into all of this and to talk about audits. Audits is a topic, I guess, that every tax preparer thinks about, every taxpayer thinks about, and it's always something that you dread. But if you do your paperwork, you can't get through it. I guess there's really no way to totally avoid an audit, but there are ways to survive them. And I liked your term, survivable.
Right.
Making the audit survivable, I think it's important.
There are actually books on the topic, Surviving an IRS Audit, by Nolo Press, by Frederick Daly, an attorney. And Dan Pila, I don't know if I referred to him, I think I did, has written books on the subject that are terrific books. And it's something we didn't talk about. You know, there's still fast-track settlement that you can request, where they have a mediator, like arbitration, and they are trying to solve the case in 60 days, which increases your ability to solve the case before appeals. And there are, of course, books, there are websites you can go to, and we also didn't mention, you also have the avenue to go to district court or the court of claims. The attorneys take those cases, and if you're not happy with your settlement after you've gone through tax court, you can appeal to district court. The differences in district court is you pay the tax before you go to district court. Whereas with tax court, you don't pay until the tax court proceeding is over. And I want to mention one other thing in my mind, Ben. Most tax court cases that are filed don't actually go to court. So you see a lot of accountants preparing all the documentation in order to go to tax court, the attorney filing it, and then it comes back to appeals and an attempt to settle it in tax court. The other thing about district court is your odds are improved according to the statistics of settlement, and you also have the opportunity for a jury of your peers, whereas in tax court you have one judge who's very knowledgeable about tax cases, so that sometimes is the reason you go to tax court.
And I would just imagine a good way to stay up on a lot of this is to read CPA magazine. Would I be correct in saying that?
Well, of course, I'm biased, but I think CPA magazine is the one vehicle where you can get a little bit of everything, both representing clients before the IRS, tax strategies by Sid Kess, software reviews. And folks do tell us that they read it because they can read this one magazine and get a glimpse of several things. We have been emphasizing this area for the last year because practitioners, small practitioners, are the heart of who we represent as a magazine. And so since this is on the increase, IRS audits are on the increase, we've been covering it heavily, and we've been talking to a lot of practitioners. As a matter of fact, our top 50 practitioners for this year, which we'll select for our upcoming issue, are all going to be accountants that represent clients before the IRS.
As far as things coming up in the magazine, what can we look forward to?
Well, we have a different theme for each issue. So we'll cover 1040 tax and individual tax representation in one issue. And then in the subsequent issue, we'll handle business tax. And then we'll handle tax research. And then we'll handle tax planning. And then we'll handle other kinds of entities, whether it's not-for-profit or construction entities. So every issue is thematic so that they can be used as a resource in the future. And at the same time, we have what we consider the top columnist practicing today. Sid Kess has probably educated more accountants on taxes than any other one individual. And a wonderful guy who's also written numerous books on the subject is our tax columnist. And then we did some survey work that asked accountants what they wanted to see and what they expected from a publication. They expected tax strategies, and they wanted to know more about 1031 exchanges. And 1031 exchanges are not the only way to defer taxes, but for example, if you're selling a business or you're selling a building and you reinvest, well, then you can defer the taxes on it. That's a short course in a 1031 exchange. But we have what we consider the top columnist, actually recommended by Sid Kess in that area, Art Jensen. And then Marty Davidoff is a CPA attorney whose practice is devoted to representing clients before the IRS. So he's always giving a very nuts and bolts approach about the very first thing you do and about considering pricing the engagement. Some accountants have sold what they call audit insurance by different names, which is a really good idea, and I buy it myself, as a matter of fact. But the way that that's worded is very important, because if you're going to do everything for your client just based on some audit insurance, because of a greater number of audits going on right now, you have quite a bit of exposure. So the recommendation is, especially if it's not a regular client, you're reconstructing the return, to take a significant retainer before you take on that client, so that you're not upside down on that client who's already being audited by the IRS.
Sure. Make sure your taxes then show enough income.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Well, it's been a very interesting time here. We thank you for sharing all this wonderful information with us. I want to remind everyone to be sure and read CPA Magazine. Our guest today is Tawn Allen Rose. He is a CPA himself and editor of CPA Magazine. We thank you so much for being with us today, Tawn, and hope to have you back again real soon.
Thank you, Ben. I sure appreciate it.
Thanks much. And thank you so much for watching on this edition of the program. I'm Ben Cleary. Have a great day.